Anna mentioned, I'm the operations manager at NEAS, and as operations manager, I get to be involved in a variety of activities that NEAS undertakes. But certainly one of my most favourite activities to be involved in is the NEAS Premium Product endorsement. And it is my privilege each year to be able to chair this panel, which is a great opportunity for our newest endorsees to show off their products to you and share what makes them special and unique. Just before we get to that though, I'd just like to share a little bit about what the NEAS Premium Product is. Premium Product endorsement may be achieved for a product that is unique or innovative in its design, and it's a product that is meeting the needs of its users in an exceptional way. So as you can see there, applications need to cover those 5 areas: origination, use, innovation, outcomes and community benefit. And this year's premium products are also displayed up there on screen. So we have English Unlimited's Everyday English, Sydney College of English's OET preparation course, International House Sydney's English for Teens course, Curtin University's Continuing Professional Development Program, and the University of Newcastle's Student Experience Program. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Ivan Kumar up to the microphone first to share with you Everyday English. So please welcome Ivan.
Thank you to my fan. Well, I'd like to call on Mandy to join me. Mandy's our Everyday English project manager, and I couldn't have done this without her. So, Mandy, can everyone give a big hand to Mandy? Woo! So, you have the attention span of a goldfish. Has anyone heard that expression? Goldfish have the attention span of 9 seconds. Teenagers have the attention span of 8 seconds. So basically, I don't know if how many of you guys have teenagers at home? Put your hands up. Am I right? Is that do teenagers have the attention span of?
I think it's 8 seconds.
Yeah. Well, there's good news, because if teenagers are engaged, they can have the attention span of 40 seconds. Have you seen young people watch Game of Thrones? Do they multitask? No. So, first reason we wanted to create Everyday English, because a lot of teachers are complaining, the students are not paying attention, none of them, they're on their phones all the time. So basically, we wanted them to be a little bit more engaged with the subject matter. And the second thing we wanted, the reason we created Everyday English, is to give them a special Australian experience. So the reason we created it is we wanted students to be a little bit more engaged with the subject matter. And students said that they were coming all the way to Australia and they were learning nothing about Australia. They didn't know anything about Indigenous culture. They didn't know about life in Australia. They didn't know how to even write a resume. So we created this basically for students to engage in Australia and to be more engaged with the subject matter. So what we first did is we created our own little course book, which Mandy's going to show you. So the course book has a lot of Australian content. There's an entire chapter about Indigenous culture, about Australia. So we actually put a lot of effort to ensuring that students engage with the subject matter. We surveyed the students. We asked them exactly what they wanted to know, what they wanted to read in a course book. So the entire course book has basically been created by our students in a way. So the first chapter is entirely about Australia. And we wanted the rest of the topics to be quite modern, quite engaging for the students. We also created a little homework book because we were finding out that students are not doing homework anymore. And so we created a little reader, which is called the Every Night Reader. So we wanted students to go home and before they go to bed, just read a little bit about different topics and find out a little bit more about even the Harbour Bridge, about Australia in general. And teachers have told us that students are actually reading this book. They're going home and they're doing homework, which is very unusual. And most of us as managers know that getting students to do homework is a challenge. So basically, they don't have to be goldfish if they're engaged with the subject matter. So we created something which is really colourful, We designed it in a way where students would want to read it at home. They would use it as a reference book. And the feedback has been quite good. So I'll get Mandy to talk a little bit about the feedback from the students.
Yeah, sure. The students have had a really good reaction to the course. The teachers as well, I would say. They're finding that it's really engaging. They're really enjoying the Australian relevant 2019-based content. I mean, the book has been written really 2018, but still relevant for 2019. And yeah, they're really enjoying engaging with topics that are relevant for them, because they're not used to having books that are written for overseas students studying in Australia, and topics like the Indigenous culture has been really popular, happiness, Australian food. If you've taught, you probably know that students always ask, what is Australian food and things like that, so they're loving it. They're loving the colour, they're loving the modern design. That keeps them engaged, but the teachers are also reporting that the students are telling them that they're leaving the classroom and investigating more on the subject matter that they're learning about, and they're really engaging more outside the classroom, doing their own investigation as well.
Excellent. Ben's given us 5 minutes, so thank you, everyone. Thank you, my fan.
Thank you, Ivan and Mandy. I'd now like to invite Maxine Fuchs from Sydney College of English to share with you the OET preparation course.
Thank you, Ben. I'm going to start with a really awful slide today. I'm not sure how many of you know exactly what OET is, but I'm sure it's one of many ESP courses out there. And OET is Occupational English Test, and of course it's Medical English. And there's an excellent booth out there in the foyer. I started with this slide because I think exam courses, and OET in particular, suffer from this, oh no, it's expensive, it's terrifying, I can't do it. There's a real negativity that comes into it. And I've just put a few questions here. Is it the students, the teachers, or agents who perpetuate this idea that there's a terrifying mountain to climb before you can pass the exam and that you'll probably fail? I often think it isn't students. I think students will believe what we tell them. But frequently, teachers are terrified of this exam. If you ask teachers in your staff room, they'll often say, oh, no, thanks, no. I feel, of course, they say that about IELTS and other exams as well, but OET in particular, because it's medical, they imagine that it's going to be something difficult and intimidating. I'd like to imagine for a moment that you're all agents and not academic managers. Wouldn't that be great while I'm talking? Everybody's an agent and I'm trying to sell the OET to you. I think we need to educate agents more about OET. And I'm hoping that my presentation today will help agents realise as well that it's not such a difficult thing, and there are wonderful courses out there. And I think I want to see less of what I saw recently when I viewed an agent website and I saw a list of exam courses, and the last one was OET, and it said, this exam is extremely difficult. It takes a huge effort to pass. And I actually rang the agent and said, please remove that and put something a little bit more positive. So the key to success, I think, of the OET program at SCE is that we absolutely reject this deficit model. We want to be inclusive. We want to focus on the positive. And we set about that in various ways. One of the things we have to remember all the way through this, and why it's so important to have an engaging community for OET learners, is that our students are quite special. They've already worked as professionals for many, many years in many cases, and also they've got quite strong personalities often because they feel like it's a little bit life or death. They want accreditation in their field. If they don't get it, they might need to go home. Their dreams will be in tatters. And often they've reached the point where they don't have time to try again either too much. So we have to manage expectations. We have to be very explicit about what we want them to achieve and make them believe that they can achieve it. So I've got about 4 points of how we go about this. I'm a great believer across all programs that we need a living, breathing syllabus. And what I mean about that, it's not a document that you just refer to occasionally or that just refers you to page 28, today's topic is blah, blah, blah. It's our syllabus. We have an inbuilt flexibility. Firstly, we have students who don't want to study the full 8-week program. They might only want to study 1 to 2 weeks just to brush up their skills. So it has to be suitable whether you're going to dive in for a short period or whether you feel that you're a weaker student and you need to study for a little bit longer. The flexibility is also around the fact that at SCE we accept all 12 of the professions, not just nursing and doctors. We might normally have 4 or 5 professions in the classroom. So if we know that we're going to have a vet in the classroom, we might unplug something and plug in extra activities that will make that student feel that their needs have been catered for. The other thing I want to just emphasize on this slide is the teaching methodology needs to be embedded in the syllabus design. So I think often we have a syllabus and it just refers you to the materials, and we do like to have teacher autonomy, so we leave it to them to decide how to teach it. I think with this kind of course we have to go a little bit further in shaping our expectations and shaping our teacher so that they do actually do what we need them to do and want them to do. And to that end as well, we have collaborative syllabus design where we reach out to teachers also who are not teaching the program directly and ask them to help us, for example, record listenings, design role plays, and so on. Now, at the bottom of each slide, I've written, but still 100% focused on the exam. Because, of course, the main thing is our students want the fastest and most intensive course possible so that they can get over the goal line as quickly as they can. The second pillar of our approach is to make it holistic, and there's 2 aspects to this really, the teaching and learning side and also the community side. I'm using the analogy of a dojo with a little bit of cultural appropriation there. I like this idea of a dojo in the martial arts setting because a dojo is a very supportive environment. Everybody's got one aim, one goal. They're all learning the same thing. The teacher is a master, but at the same time is a mentor. And the students are all working to the same goal, but each day they're working to improve on what they've already learnt. So it's highly structured, it's highly disciplined, but there's creativity in there as well with that model. So I like this model, and this is what I pass on to my teachers. And in terms of the syllabus model, I believe in the integrated skills rather than just macro skills on separate days. I don't like that siloed approach. I do think our course is based on digging deep, having time to really explore the material and not just zoom over it superficially. The key and the most interesting and creative thing about our program is that we really spend a lot of time building a community, and we build in mindfulness and meditation into the program. And I don't mean we just teach them like, you should do this and here's how to do it. It's embedded in the syllabus. It's done regularly. I was highly skeptical of this in the beginning, and when I saw everybody sitting there with their eyes closed, I was thinking, oh my goodness, well, do they do that every day? I was shocked, and I was not actually approving in the beginning. But it's actually proven to be really, really good, and because they're all health professionals, they buy into it, they love it, and it centres them in their real exam situation as well. So we use that in particular before mock exams, and just every morning while we're waiting for everybody to come in, we do that. Still 100% focused on the exam, folks. We're not having too much fun. The third thing I want to focus on is creativity. Students often know what they want but don't necessarily know what they need. We're very explicit to explain to them and give our rationale about why we do everything and what we do and how it's going to help the individual. I think my subtitle here, Breaking Away from the Cram Course Mentality, is really significant. We can't just put exam material in front of our clients, get them to do it, supply the answers, move on to the next exam practice. It simply doesn't work. Students often want it, but it doesn't work, and you'll have them back again later after they've failed the exam. So we use the resources of our multicultural environment. We promote socio-linguistic competence by inviting students to contribute their knowledge. We use a lot of authentic materials. And the thing about OET, it's really done for you because the exam materials are authentic materials. The speaking exam is a role play. So we're encouraging spontaneity and responsiveness. We do heaps of creative stuff around role play, and we get students to create a lot of that. But again, the context, we never stray from medical vocabulary and medical context, not even for a moment. We would never hand out a passive worksheet for homework that was general English as opposed to medical English. You must stay absolutely focused. Most importantly, and where I want to give thanks actually today, is about the review and validation. I've talked a lot about creativity, and so in fact we like to think outside the box. But in fact, it's an exam course. You can't really think outside the box all the time. So I've borrowed this New Yorker cartoon. Never ever think outside the box, he's saying to his cat. So of course if it's a cat, it's a bit of a disaster to think outside the box, isn't it? So we have this kind of a contraction and expansion. We have creativity within the classroom. We make it interesting, we make it fun, but we always have to bring it back to the parameters of the exam. And belonging to these organisations and doing things like the NEAS Premium Product endorsement and the OET Premium Provider program, which is a very, very rigorous thing where you have to create your materials and learn how to be a writer. This puts your benchmarking in place for you. It's an enormous support, but it also gives you the habit of mind that you need to carry with you every single day. So we do a lot of that, and we also collaboratively build the syllabus and have lots of cross-checks in place. So peer review and close supervision by the Nazi, which is me, the grammar Nazi. And I always have my own little frame of reference, which is, could I publish this tomorrow? Could I share it with one of you without embarrassment? And that's basically where I'm at. So please feel free to come up and ask me about this program after the session, because we do have our limited time. But look, I'm an absolute exam geek. I love all exams, and I particularly love this one. So please feel free to ask me after the show. Thank you, guys.
Fantastic. Thank you, Maxine. Up next, we have Tracy Blackwell from International House, Sydney. So please make her feel welcome.
Okay. Hi. So a couple of years ago at International House at our new campus in Bondi, we started an English for Teens program. And one of the questions we get asked is why. So when we were looking into it, there was a bit of a gap in the market at that time. There's a lot of great high school preparation programs around for that age group. But there weren't any specific GE programs for these kids. And we found that we were getting a lot of requests for it. And for short-term students who are here while their parents are working or their family holiday, it's a much more cost-effective option for them. And we're also getting these requests at specific times during summer and winter when their parents are either coming over for work or for holidays. So what are they getting out of it? The parents. So they know that their kids are getting both language and cultural education by being part of our program. It's not just English. If they're here for work, they know their students are somewhere, their kids are somewhere being looked after, they're occupied. If they're here for family holidays, sometimes the parents just need a break. So they come to us. But also, all our teachers and staff have got their Working with Children's check. We've got separate areas, so separate classrooms just for the teens, so away from the adult cohort. We also make sure we organise the breaks at different times so that there's no crossover between those two cohorts in the common areas. So the parents know their students are safe. But of course they're also getting a bit of an intro to language learning, English language learning. So what are the teens getting out of it? So hopefully they're having fun. We try to provide really engaging lessons for them, and we're doing that by using relevant topics. So we're not using the same topics, same course books, same information that you'd be using in an adult classroom, because it's not interesting for them. They don't really want to talk about hypothetical situations in an office environment. It has nothing to do with them at this stage. So we're using different materials that will hopefully set them up for actually using English in real life. And of course, they're going to make friends from everywhere. So the English lessons, they get 3 hours every morning with a break. Now, our teachers are obviously all TESOL qualified, but they're also high school qualified teachers as well. So they've got that crossover, they know what they're doing with these kids. And like I said before, we're not using the adult syllabus, we're not using adult materials. We've got a separate syllabus for them and separate course books that are specifically designed for teens, so that they're actually interesting for that age group. Of course, we've got a range of supplementary materials and activities, and we do actually change those, the content based on the different groups that come, depending on where they're from, what's been requested by their teachers or their agents, so we can mix it up a little bit. So of course we've got different communicative activities in the classroom, and we try to make it a bit interesting by adding in craft activities, different projects. Sometimes we have kids' brothers come in that want to help with the project in South Korea. But then they also have activities. So it's just the 3 hours of English lessons in the morning. Then in the afternoon, they have fun. So we've got 4 hours, again, supervised by the same teachers. And they go on excursions, they do cultural activities. Sometimes those are in the school, sometimes outside of the school. And we've got a 12-week program for this activity schedule to avoid repetition for those kids that are here over the whole summer or whole winter. And we did that actually based on feedback and input from the parents, the agents and study tour leaders, so that they're getting a variety of activities. And again, we'll also we'll choose some of their activities based on what their interests are and what their goals are for the future. So some of the things to do, if there's some sort of festivals on, we'll take them along. Obviously you'll see all the sites. Take them to Luna Park, we've taken them 10-pin bowling, to laser tag, going for walks, Taronga Zoo, souvenir shopping, kite flying, all sorts of different things. So at the end of each block, we make sure we do end-of-course surveys so we can get a bit of an idea about what they're liking about it, are they enjoying it, what can we do better. We also seek direct feedback from all the stakeholders. So far, I've had a very high satisfaction rate. Of course, there's always things we can improve. So we are really responsive to all those suggestions and that feedback. Last year, we were told that we need to improve the orientation procedures a little bit, make it a bit more streamlined, but also a bit more comprehensive so that they know what's expected of them and to make everything a bit safer and a bit more efficient. So we'll continue to do those things. We're going to welcome our next block in June. And so we're very excited to see what they have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Now to talk to us about a product that is targeted at a different user group, we have Simon Weintraub from Curtin University, who will also be joined by Leanne Howarth.
Thank you. So thank you everyone, and I'm sure you can already smell the coffee, so we'll try and keep it quite sharp and short. Just to start off by saying a little bit about Curtin English, which is the home for this product. We're a typical university language centre offering pathway programmes primarily, and so we have our Gateway programme, which is largely focused on language proficiency and bringing people up to around an IELTS 5.5 or IELTS 6. And then we have English language bridging, which is an academic literacy program incorporating study skills, critical thinking, referencing and all those other things that go into a typical academic literacy program. We also run customized programs, including teacher training programs, and we have the CELTA, which we run a few times a year. So I'm talking today about CPD, and those of you that were here yesterday and heard Anne Burns, she made a much more eloquent and better case than I could for the importance of CPD and how continuous professional development is actually the best way that you can do anything to improve the quality in your institution. And really, we've done that over a long period of time now. We've had a heavy focus on continuous professional development, and that's what's led us to this point. So some acknowledgements. Leanne will be joining me in a moment, and she prepared this slide, so she didn't name herself, but she should be up here as someone who's really driven so much of this. And Sarah Crivelli, our teacher training coordinator, has played a massive role. But what's really important is that first point on the slide, that we actually, if we want to give acknowledgements for this program, we have to say a big thank you to every teacher, senior teacher, student and coordinator in the program. Because this is a program that really is led by the teachers. They're the ones who help decide what the content should be. They're the ones who lead a huge amount of the input there. And even the students, the feedback we get from them feeds into the program and helps us know what we should be focusing on. The things that, I suppose, the aspects of the program that led us to get this premium endorsement, the first one is evidence of reflection and evaluation on the previous year's program. So every year, at the end of the year, we bring all the teachers together, we look at the program, what worked and what didn't work, and then we use that feedback to start to look forward to what we should include in the next year's program. Alignment with the principles of current research in continuing professional development. We incorporate projects into teachers' duties. So, teachers, obviously, they've got a full teaching load of 20 hours, and a lot of the rest of their time is spent on preparation and marking. But with that little bit of extra time that teachers have available to contribute to the general development of the centre, we create little projects for them, and some of those will focus on the CPD program and taking leadership roles in that. Responsiveness to teacher feedback, as I said, not just at the end of the year, but what we're looking at is the teacher's feedback on the courses, on what's going well and what isn't, and that helps us to identify areas that we can focus on to lead to improvement. There's a broad range, and Leanne will talk about all these things in more detail. So whether we're looking at teacher-led mini sessions, where we're looking at people getting involved in other wider projects outside of the centre, such as action research, a big range of different activities. And those activities help involve all of the teachers, because some of our teachers are very experienced, been a long time in the profession, and perhaps the main aim is to reinvigorate them and find a new focus for them, whereas others are less experienced, and we need to find a range of activities to suit all of these different teachers. And teacher observations is a very important part of that, and there's a very clearly set out approach to teacher observations when we do peer observation, when it's observation by one of the managers, and so on. So I'll hand over now to Leanne to talk about each of those in a little bit more detail.
Okay, so I'm just going to go through each of the points and just show you some examples of what we do as best practice at Curtin English. So the first one, like Simon said, is the teacher feedback from the previous year. So we really listen to that and we involve the teachers. We identify areas of need or for improvement through the teacher observations that we do. Those are peer observations mainly, and formal observations by a manager or a senior teacher. We also take into account the changing needs of the centre, so any restructures that may be going on and how teachers may deal with that and how that might affect PD. And this year in particular, we're looking at the collective needs of our students and the student results. Okay. We also use research, so research in CPD. These are the various things that we've looked at over the years and that we've incorporated into the PD program. I'll give you a second to have a look at those. I think the main things we've taken from this is really the attitudes of leaders and managers in implementing such a program, listening to the teachers and giving them ownership as well. Projects, we do include projects. These are negotiated with our teachers, areas that they want to upskill in, and then they dedicate about 2 hours a week to their project. There's an example of the PD teacher scope for you to have a look at. Okay. Responsiveness to teacher feedback. I think this is really important, and I know Anne Burns touched on this yesterday. So really listening to the teachers and acknowledging what they've said about the PD. We do this by giving them regular opportunities to give feedback, catering for the different levels of expertise within the centre, and really adapting the observation process. Those are the three main things we looked at. We always include the teachers in the design of the PD programme to see what's manageable. And again, like we talked about before, any workplace changes that may affect the PD significantly. And we really do respect teachers' time. So we do have some high-stakes courses at Curtin English, and we have high marking loads. So that is taken into consideration when designing the PD for the year. One of the things I think we do really well, and then NEAS picked up on, was the range of different PD activities we've had over the years. So I'll give you a second to look at those. I think some of the really important ones that had the most effect really was the implementation of streams and special interest groups in 2016. Streamlining the formal observation planning requirements, talking to the teachers about how we observe them. You know, the dreaded observation, how can we make it better, more of a developmental process for the teachers? And really a focus on the learner needs. So you can see this year we're focusing on bottom-up skills in listening and differentiation, and that's been something that we've been working on for a while, and we've noticed through student results and observations of classes. So we're really looking at the student assessment results now as well. And again, the teacher observation. You know, we try to guide the teachers through the observation. We plan with them. We work with them as leaders and managers. We team teach. We have post-obs. We allow the teachers to give feedback on the observation process and the feedback in which we give them. And we do that very carefully depending on the stage that the teacher's at in their career. So I think those are the main things that we do pretty well at Curtin English, and it's proved to be quite successful over the years. Simon?
So just to sum up, and I think the big success of what we've had is really seen in the attitude of the teachers, because I know how long ago now, 6, 7, 8 years ago, teachers were very reluctant to be observed at all. There was a lot of resistance to observations. People were, when there was a PD session, do I have to go kind of approach. And that's really transformed now, and the teachers, almost all, are really enthusiastic participants in everything in this and value it highly. So really, to sum up, I don't need to read through this list. You can see it up there on the screen. That's just a summary of the aspects that we feel has made this into a successful program and that has led NEAS to endorse it as a premium product. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, last but most certainly not least, we have Anne Burnett from the University of Newcastle.
I just realized when I was sitting up here that the only time I've been in front of this many people is when I'm welcoming students to the Language Center, and I'm usually like clapping or dancing or something like that. So don't worry, I won't do it, and I won't make you participate in it with me. But I'm going to talk about the Student Experience Passport, which is our student experience program at the University of Newcastle. And I have a video which I think succinctly says it much better than I can.
The University of Newcastle Language Centre's Student Experience Passport was designed to break down barriers and facilitate meaningful connections with the community through activities that help international students adapt to a new campus and city, foster friendships, and improve their English. The passport then empowers students to further explore the attractions and opportunities of Newcastle and its surrounds.
The student passport is a small booklet. It's like the perfect guide, which encourages students to go outside to develop their English, not only study English in the classroom, to go outside and explore the environment and meet new people.
The passport really helpful for me, and the passport makes me a good feeling and the high motivation.
The student passport helped me to overcome my homesickness because I met so many people and other students from different countries, and I have a lot of new friends.
I really like, the talking with people who are different country, different background.
You encourage yourself to meet new people and improve your English at the same time.
So this is the student passport, and essentially students gain stamps for every activity they participate in. Each stamp is worth 5 points. Once they get 20 stamps or 100 points, they get a free coffee. The free coffee, then their name gets put into a draw, and I do a draw for a $100 voucher every quarter. So that's just what the passport is. How it met the needs of the University of Yuan Language Center students. A few years back, even before I took on the role, students did not feel welcomed when they first arrived. They also felt that they had limited opportunity to engage with Australian students and also the greater Australian community. So this is a way that students are able to suddenly engage, and they sort of have a book that just allows them to network and get into the community. I just thought I'd throw some stats up to a passport completion, and by passport completion I mean getting 20 stamps. So this year we've increased, and we're getting up, the KPI is going to be 30%, but passport completion doesn't mean, it doesn't necessarily mean students aren't engaging in the passport. They can get stamps, maybe they're just getting 5, maybe they're getting 10, but this is just a stats to show you that the completion rate is happening. Also, what we're learning is that if students are going to complete the passport, they're going to do it in the first 5 weeks of arriving, and that's going to be enough to catalyze them to get engaged and get working within the community and working on their English outside the classroom. I've been doing surveys and surveys as we go along, so you can just read and just see how students felt towards the passport. The other thing that was impressive with the passport is we checked the ELB feedback, and we just selected the things that work within the passport. And in 2016, these were our rankings, and in 2017 and 2018, these were our rankings. And then how did the passport demonstrate creativity? Last year we won, we were a joint winner for the 2018 New South Wales International Community Student Engagement Award for Educational Provider. I presented at 3 national conferences last year and then won Best Presenter at one of them. We also won the University of Newcastle's Academic Division Award, and we were highly commended by the Vice Chancellor Award. So it's working, students are engaged. I just got a text message this morning from one of my assistants with all the photos. Cultural Awakenings is happening, and she was sending me all the photos of all the students doing different activities. So that's the passport.
Thanks, Anne. Perfect timing. I'd like to thank all of our presenters and congratulate them once more on achieving their premium product endorsement. So will you join me in giving a round of applause? And I would also like you all to consider what makes your centre special and unique, and invite you all to apply for a premium product endorsement, either of current unique products or potentially future products that may be developed. So it's now time for some morning tea, so I'd like to invite you into the exhibition hall. Please make a point of stopping by our exhibitors and putting your business cards in their bowls if you'd like to be in the raffle this afternoon.
I just wanted to say thank you, Ben, for bringing this group together, and I wanted to repeat something that Seamus said last night. This is such a great sector, Elikos, because we're willing to share. And I'm so pleased that you've been willing to share your premium products, because they are motivators, role models for so many, for each other and for all of you. And I'm so proud of this sector and all of you. So thank you so much for coming up with these products and then be so willing to share them. Thank you. I love this sector.